deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby.
She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
Like a frat boy enticing you to chug that solo cup of jungle juice, these people just can't help themselves. I'm serious, everybody. I'm watching all of this play out, and I'm genuinely pretty worried. We saw the assassination attempt on Trump. People have lost their minds and gone so nutty down the rabbit hole that people cannot even look at anything with a clear point of view or mind. Objectively, anybody looking at this event, like myself, can't argue that that was handled in total badassery and anybody else would be in fetal position shitting their pants. Regardless of if you love or hate Trump, again, just looking at this, you can't deny that that was such an astounding response to what happened and saddened that our country is obviously so broken, right? But people's hate runs so deep and they're so blinded, they merely cannot see anything else. They are the ancestral bloodline of Helen Keller that it's just so sad to me. Even Jeff Bezos, right? The man who literally, Trump is his arch nemesis. This man owns the Washington Post, okay? Which is a personal vendetta against everything that Trump does. And he even said, watching this and someone being in a literal line of fire, like I myself, Jeff Bezos, can even acknowledge that this was a sheer act of courage and bravery, right? And the sad thing is we're seeing the aftermath now and I'm watching it and people who are so blinded, can't see anything else, are so deep rooted in their feelings and their hate, don't care. And the range of reactions are so wild to me. Look, I have even been bitten. No, Edward Cullen is not in my presence. Sadly, I wish he was Edward Cullen for president. I've even been written off just for merely saying this, okay? You guys know, I'm a big Trump fan. I've even been written off. I've lost followers for being this lunatic MAGA person. Right? So if somebody has even made it this far into this video, it is a miracle from God, just like Amber Rose's conversion, which we're going to get to. That's how quick we're willing to put people in camps, separate them, me versus you, and it's so sad. And just some examples that really were so shocking to me were ones like, people on the left saying that Trump's Band-Aid, which this guy had his ear blown off, okay, in front of all of us. Testing, Trump, like, can you hear us? Are you there? They're making fun of his Band-Aid at the RNC, right, as if it's political theater. You have Joe Biden, who by the time this runs, who knows what if this guy is even in the race, if he's in the concession stand, like what is even happening there, right? But he did an interview. This is on the heels of wishing Trump a speedy recovery and, saying political violence has no place here. 2 hours later, does an interview with Lester Holt and is like, he's just a mean old grumpy man.
Lester, look, why don't you guys ever talk about the 18 to 28 lies he told? Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? 28 times it's confirmed he lied in that debate. Seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told? Well, I haven't heard anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that came in during that debate.
No, you haven't. Well, if you go back and listen to the things J.D. Vance said about Trump.
Well, he said some things about you, yeah.
Oh, no, he said something about me, but see what he said about Trump. What's with you guys? Come on, man.
And he needs some, like, Pepto-Bismol or something. Like, he's just not right. He's like the grumpy man who has indigestion after your Thanksgiving meal, and you're like, Grandpa, like, you just need to take a nap. But he tells Lester Holt, he doubles and quadruples down. Trump is a threat to democracy. It's like, dude, you literally can't help yourself, okay? You have Joy Reid. We're going to get to Joy again later. This woman, I don't know how, by the grace of God, or whatever it is you believe in, this woman is still employed, okay? I need answers. But who literally equivocated Biden having COVID right now at his age and surviving it to Trump surviving an assassination attempt. Okay.
This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing?
This is how far these people are willing to go. Even Jen Psaki is looking at her, like holding back. Lady, you are deranged. And Jen Psaki's eyes rolled to the back of her forehead and not in a good way, being like, come on. Like, even I can distinguish, like, you're being nuts right now. Another example, too, is I think it was the first day of the RNC. So this is 48 hours after Trump's brains were nearly blown out in front of, all of our eyes. And you have a reporter egging Don Jr. on about like kids in cages and the border crisis and all this. And Don Jr. literally is like, dude, just like get out of here. Just get out of here. Again, simply cannot help themselves, right?
Expect nothing less from you, Cleos. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. No, just get out of here.
Two people who have come after me and on my platform wishing, death on Trump or saying that like, bye, Taylor, even just for acknowledging what someone like a Jeff Bezos acknowledged. This is how far people will go. And what I've really sort of realized, again, not that this is anything new, but that it's so sad. The media is so to blame for this. It's like people are so bought in. And no matter what happens, no matter what other realm that they ascend to, they can't see anything else. It's just common sense. And I'm going to call the right out too, because the right in their own way is caught up with culture identity and like, are you with us or without us? But the left, their religion and their personality and their Myers-Briggs type is identity politics. So obviously by nature, they do it much more. But it's so sad because you're going to see in these examples, at the end of the day, we should all be about what our values are. And even if the other side or someone else, so to speak, has these values, if they are not all in your camp, pledging your sorority to the aforementioned frat bro mentioned, like, this is why I'm so glad that I never pledged a sorority, right? Because of this. Because you then, if you're not fully all in, if you're not fully with us, even though you have some of our values, you are torn down, trash, delegitimized. And it is sad as shit. So you have the right who does this too. And it's fascinating to me with entertainment and Hollywood being my background. And this is where the Amber Rose thing comes into play. Like Amber Rose resurrected, like the savior that she is to them now. But right wingers love, for example, to completely be borderline, in my opinion, conspiratorial and witchy, even though they claim to be anything but, people of the Lord, about Hollywood. They say how satanical it is. They have all kinds of conspiracy theories and all this stuff, and they bash, woke Hollywood, celebrity culture, all kinds of celebrities, what have you, like the burn book of their times. Regina George is their muse in this way. However, funny enough how they changed their tune when you have a celebrity who is outspoken about conservative values. I'm talking John Voight. I'm talking Rob Schneider when it comes to comedy, cancel culture, whatever it is. Suddenly, they are the hero of our times. Like, no, I have never heard of such thing, Taylor. I don't know what you mean. Who gets the last laugh here? I know I do. Me, Taylor, and I'm sure you guys too get the last laugh. Y'all look like a bunch of fools, right? And both sides are just ridden with this. And you guys look like a bunch of clowns. It's just goofy at this point. Like, how do you not see this? And a really great example actually is Matthew McConaughey, okay? Because this guy, and I think Matthew McConaughey is a stand-up guy. Like, people always ask me, like, who's your favorite celebrity? You had this, that, or the other thing. And you have people, it's always like the entitled little reality stars who think it's like, eat my dust. And it's like, babe, I don't even know who you are. And you always have the OGs, like the John Travoltas, and I always name the Matthew McConaughey's as well, who are such class acts and vets who will stop and talk to every reporter while they're promoting their project because it's like, bitch, we're here for you. Like, you think I'm doing this for your health? He gets it, right? So I ain't even mad that he wants to have a political future. So he actually he's dabbled in it before. He actually recently met with governors and both left and right. And what I really appreciate about Matthew McConaughey, and again, this is where people can write him off. It's like, oh, he's just this Hollywood pretty boy, whatever, is that he's so common sense, middle of the road thinking, as I think many of us with mental wherewithal, above this plastic phone are. the superior ones in this country. No, I'm just kidding. Anywho, unity, am I right? But he's somebody who he's been a little bit, politically ambiguous. I think he's probably a little more democratic, but he's very Second Amendment forward. He's come out, though, about gun reform, especially after the shooting in Uvalde, right? Because he, I believe, is a Texas native. I think he's talked about running in Texas, but he talked about things like, stricter background checks and for an AR-15, moving the age from 18 to 21. But he's very, pro-gun. But because he has some underlying views that are democratic, the conservatives, they are twitching, okay? They are seizing. They cannot fully embrace him. And it's crazy because it goes the other way. He was actually on Russell Brand's podcast, and he talked about how the, quote, illiberal left was so patronizing to Trump supporters and what have you. But the unhinged people, unable to see nuance, like I'm talking about, called him alt-right. And my fave insult that just really is a zinger and, is so creative, but that he's just a privileged white man and doesn't know anything about anything. I think someone like that, there would be such potential. But again, because he can't, commit to something either way, we're just going to both disregard him. It's absolutely ridiculous because he definitely has values that both sides, in theory, appreciate, right? And advocate for. And that is what perfectly on time brings me to Miss Amber Rose. Okay. You guys may not know that me and Matt, going way back, Amber Rose, and I think I actually still have her number, but I may as well have been the white black China and her bestie attached at the hip that you never knew, kind of.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
But actually, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I really do think I have her number still. But there was a stint there where I was interviewing her all the time. I'm going to show some pictures here. We were having a moment. So I'm going to tell you my personal view of this whole come to RNC moment, the RNC being the Jesus of her time. But this is it's so fascinating for me to watch, right? Because if you recall, for those of you who don't know, Amber Rose is a, model personality. She was one of the OG girlfriends of Kanye West before this new Bianca lady and her snake eye titties were taking over my newsfeed. She was one of the OGs, but her claim to fame was her slut walk, which I'm going to talk about. I've covered it. I was there with her. I've written about it extensively. And it's really a feminist movement in which empowering women and against, slut shaming, victim shaming, assault, of course, right? And really liberating women and even survivors to reclaim their power. And again, which is a beautiful thing and which should be embraced by both sides. But because Amber Rose was always, the quote slut, the self-proclaimed slut and on OnlyFans and this and that. Two things. One, she was the mere devil to conservatives and what have you, but the poster child of what a woman should be for the left, right? Where did I lie? Did I run a lie detector test? I am Ben Stiller. This is Meet the Parents. Did I lie? The poster child for the left. So what have you now? She comes out shockingly at the RNC, does a whole speech about how Trump and his followers don't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're gay, if you're straight. And she realizes that these are her people, right? When it hit me, these are my people. This is where I belong. But now suddenly, again, she is axed from the group. Okay, she is that one, the fourth one in Destiny's Child. There she goes. Okay, by the left. We are just going to completely discredit her and leave her in the dust. She no longer can sit with us on Wednesday or any day. So what happens? This is a perfect embodiment of that. But Joy Reid, here she is at it again, saying that, she's like, I'm not really going to call, Amber Rose isn't really black. Now suddenly Amber Rose isn't black, okay? But now, her whole career is rooted in black culture. And now she's being used as a pawn by conservatives of having the token black girl, right? In which case, so if you don't know, Amber Rose is biracial. And she basically comes back at Joy Reid is like, A, you're race baiting, babe. B, why am I going to throw my white dad under the bus just to make you feel better about your life? Get a grip, right? And I'm glad she called it out because that's exactly what it is. Again, you have this person, biracial, really strong about women's views and feminism and all these things that you guys claim to love, but now she's utter trash. And actually, she is not even Black. She is Michael Jackson. She is no longer Black. It is absolutely insane. You know, the right is not innocent. Like Britney Spears, oops, they did it again. They are not that innocent. Why? Because 5 milliseconds ago, before Amber Rose was the Trumper of our time, she was a complete and utter whore. Okay? So let's just call that out for what it is right now. Because that's another thing, is that conservatives love painting any promiscuous women or sexually expressive women, even Sydney Sweeney, okay, for showing her tits in a shirt that she may or may not even be able to help. Like those may or may not be, you know, surgically engineered or by God, but by God, why does it matter? No, but they are immoral and degrading themselves. And this isn't how they're supposed to be as a woman. They won't be taken seriously. Men won't like them, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on. And here's what I will tell you, and this again, okay, is a microcosm of that. Who do you have? But Candace Owens now, this displays everything I'm talking about. Candace Owens, I've seen it. She will verbally annihilate anybody with an OnlyFans and make them wish that they were dead on the spot, okay? But now what happens? She goes on her show and said she had an interaction with Amber Rose, where Amber said she felt really kind of torn at limbo. She's getting both shit on from both sides, right? For this very reason. The left is now abandoning her. The right is mocking her. Here is what Candace Owens now has to say. Let's not join the chorus of people denigrating her on the basis that she has an OnlyFans account. Instead, try to welcome her. How rich is that? How rich is that? Okay, is Amber Rose now the OnlyFans Mother Teresa of the right? I mean, give me a break. Again, it's like now suddenly, but any other OnlyFans person is trash. Same thing happened with Black China. If you remember, Black China, you know, got rid of her, walked away from her OnlyFans, became a woman of Christianity. And Ben Shapiro at the time, despite Ben Shapiro's a Jew, but still is a hardcore conservative and was like, what a bold and brave thing to do. She is our savior, saving grace, Black China. It's like, guys, do you remember what you said 5 seconds ago? This literally looks idiotic. My personal experience with the slut walk, I actually wrote a piece about it in 2015. And the headline was something like, you know, Amber Rose's slut walk genuinely changed my life. Now, that's a little like dramatized, okay, for effect. It was a little exaggerated. You know, I don't know if it actually really changed my life. I read it back. I was like, that actually was it was a little nostalgic for me. I was like, okay, I see what you did there. At the time, keep in mind, I used to kind of be a little woke back then, but that's before woke became the cult that it is now. But in the beginning of the piece, I start off all angry, as you would expect, like a college grad, feminist, liberal person to act, right? I was like, I'm so mad that I get catcalled, that I get this, that I get that. Like, it just makes me so angry. Like, fuck off. Obviously, now I've evolved. I've have a different view of all of that, and I just have fun with it all. It's like not that serious. But what I did love about the piece is how I recount how liberating it felt being at that event and even speaking with survivors and how they really took that time, because the whole thing, right, is like no matter how a woman dresses, no matter how she, you know, presents herself, she's never asking for it, right, so to speak, and no one ever deserves that. And so being in an environment where you could be how you want and be with all love, it was a really great experience. But these women who survived really intense and traumatizing things like rape would tell me how being at a thing like that allows them to, or allowed them at the time to really feel empowered and reclaiming their power and not being a victim. And in fact, almost feeling bad for their aggressor and being like a sad, unfortunate person, right? So in that regard, I think it was a really great thing. And of course, at the time, it was mocked and it's not and embraced by the mainstream left. And so all that goes to say is, Amber, give me a call, babe. I'm sure we still have each other's numbers. But also, again, this is something that in theory should be embraced, regardless of political party, regardless of the time. Like, who wouldn't want to get behind this message? Are you an actual caveman? Are you lacking half of a brain? Are you a straight up sociopath? Choice is yours. So somebody else who used to be a darling of the left is JD Vance, right? Who is now Trump's running mate. And you don't need to know much about JD Vance except for basically what I just said, okay? He's a vet. He has a really interesting story. People love him because he's dealt with things like a mom who had substance abuse and, coming from the middle working class. And like I said, serving for our country and all these things, right? And he wrote the book. This is his real claim to fame. It's called Hillbilly Elegy. And it was about all of these things, right? And really kind of like overcoming in a situation where you may be, impoverished or, not as privileged or what it is. And the movie, I mean, this is left Hollywood, okay? It was starring Amy Adams, Glenn Close. It was directed by Ron Howard. And so now, again, he is, a loud, proud conservative, and now he is all that is bad in the world, just like that. And it's so crazy because, like the Amber Rose thing, JD Vance has elements to his beliefs and his stories that you think that the left would be doing back handsprings in his honor, but they can't help themselves. And they're just trashing him, right? One is, again, his whole story of how his own mom, who dealt with, I think, drug addiction and substance abuse for most of his life, is now, however, a decade sober. Again, you would think that the left, who's all about, second chances and drug addicts give them a chance and all this, but no. Let's not forget, okay? His dark brown skinned Indian wife, who is a Yale graduate and is the daughter of 2 Indian immigrants. So again, this is their jam. Like, this is their thing. This is, by Usher when you're at the club and you flooded the dance floor. Like, this is their moment. You're in the bathroom, you're touching up, and you drop your lipstick and run. You don't give a fuck. Like, this is their moment. But nope, because it's coming from JD Vance, we can't be behind that. We're going to trash him. And so this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because even though these are all things people on the left believe in and would be behind, they simply can't do it, and they're blinded because of how much they hate conservatives. Like, it's like they no longer believe it in anymore. They just can't see it. Like, they don't even allow themselves to believe in the thing that they believe in. Speaking of, but see, this is where the right does it too, right? And the right is so proud. They're like propping him up and parading around like, see, he biracial marriage and da-da-da and all the things. Why is it then that Kamala Harris, see, this is again where both sides fall victim to this, just like Trump's here, okay? Why does Kamala Harris feel the need immediately, again, having no chill, can't help herself, immediately goes after the guy? And she's like, he doesn't care about you or the country. All he cares about is Trump. Again, I find that rich for 2 reasons. One, because it's like, again, a biracial marriage in politics, that's cool. Kamala Harris, a Black woman as vice president, is married to a white man. So there was a time when on so many levels that was completely unheard of. So one, for the inability for Kamala Harris to recognize that, but also for the right to recognize that in Kamala Harris. Because like I said, they would be propping it up if it were them. They'd be the figurehead over everything. Let's not lie. And so regardless of how you feel about Kamala Harris, I mean, she is just ripe for making jokes about, okay? I do it here on the show. And whether or not you think she's the brightest bulb, you know what I mean? Whether or not you think she's that sharpest crayon in the box, why can't you just be like, you know what? That's a really cool thing. Like, that's a really great thing that there would be a time where we would never see that. And yeah, she is out here, Black woman in politics at a high level, the second place runner-up in the pageant, and she's married to a white guy. But it's like, nope, we can't. We cannot bring ourselves to do it. And that's where it's a shame on both sides. Like, we have to absolutely tear her down. It also reminded me watching highlights from the RNC of when Kellyanne Conway talked about how she and a handful of women were working at a really high stature under Trump's administration, and how all of them were in high positions, working moms, and their kids at the time were between like 9 and 16. And just like how great that was for women and all this, right? And you would think for the left that this would break their brains, because they've painted the right as like, patriarchal, misogynistic, women haters, all these things. So again, you would think that they would be like celebrating good times, come on, but they can't seem to. And so again, it's really sad, because it's like, how do you not see you can only celebrate it when it's on your own side? And now that we're talking about Kamala, even when you think about Melania Trump, again, in theory, is somebody that you think would be the left's spokesperson. She's an immigrant. She's very, very smart, speaks, 5 languages, was an actual supermodel, and is very articulate, intelligent, very empathetic. The letter that she wrote after the attempt was absolutely beautiful. But this girl hasn't been on Vogue, despite being an actual model since 2005, when Trump was still like the cool Rockefeller or whatever. And it was like Trump's new girl, Melania. That Joe Biden has been on twice. You've had Kamala, you've had Hillary, you've had Michelle Obama, you've had all these bitches. You've even had Zelensky, and I'm pretty sure Fauci, right? But not Melania. It's like they just can't do it. They can't bring themselves to do it, because it really boils down to all of these issues. While we're talking about that, similar to JD Vance's mom, even the left and the mainstream media is so obsessed. This is why it's so hard to know what to even believe anymore, but they're so obsessed with Trump and being a convicted felon, and his whole staff is convicted felons and all this and that. When again, their whole Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade is predicated on giving inmates a second chance, letting all of these people free who should be locked up and committing bad crimes. But it's like, no, let's give them a chance. But I see, again, when it's a political opponent, that doesn't count then. And they'd come back with, they're running for president, they're this, that. Be about it, bitch. I don't care if he's the ice cream man. I don't care if he's running for president. Like, if you're about that ideal, be about that ideal. And it's just so pathetic, because it's seeped into all of these issues. And even around all of this stuff, even because, my commentary, I'll call out both sides, because I'm fucking common sense thinking. And it's so sad to me that we've become so reduced and such simpletons that you are literally either just in a flick of a comment. I never know who I'm going to be that day. It's either you're a white nationalist, racist, conspiratorial, right-wing extremist MAGA nut job, or you're a wokey, snowflake, commie, socialist leftist. Even like, I'm not going to get into the weeds today, but in the spirit of all things women, you even have like women's rights, right? And all that. Even that is so boxed in the two camps. It's fucking wild. It's like, okay, if you're the left looking at Trump, you are all the Handmaid's Tale, and it's going to be a draconian future, and we're not going to have any rights to anything. And oh my God, Trump is never going to leave office, and he's going to reinstate the Handmaid's Tale. And then if you're the right looking at the left, everybody are a bunch of baby killer, abortion murderers. There are no exceptions. That's what you all are. Everybody get some chill. You're all going nuts. Are you okay? And it makes me so sad too when I speak about the haters, especially coming from women, because like y'all know here on Talk to Me Taylor how we roll, right? Tits out, brains out. It's what we do, right? Women being all things. And I got a comment recently from a hater, from a Karen, from a Carol Jr., saying something like, it was in my Trump assassination attempt video. And she said, if you want to be taken more seriously, wear less of a low-cut top. And literally doubling down on it, saying, no, I'm serious. If you want to be taken seriously for your intelligence and your this and that, don't do that. And it's so unfortunate to see that, especially coming from a woman. And I had everything it took everything in me to pull me back and to not be Mike Tyson. No, but to like pull me back. So I wanted to be like, what don't you get? Like, you are fed into this very box. Like, again, you are so bought in. You can't see and you won't see anything else about the glory of women being all things. Why does that have to be one or the other? And with all of this, whether it be even after what we witnessed, again, objectively, regardless of where you stand, love or hate him, why would you want to see a bloody, violent assassination of a president? Like, and what that means for us as a society, like, why is that okay? You know, just like all these things, why can't you acknowledge, a woman with a really badass organization for non-victim blaming is a really great thing, or a biracial marriage is a really great thing, or a woman being in her power in all ways is a really great thing. And so with that, I'm actually going to reference, this is a little cheesy, but whatever, it's fine. I'm actually going to end it on a line that was in my Amber Rose Slut Walk piece, because I just thought it was like a nice little, Girl Scout moment. And let's see if I can read my own doctor handwriting. Wish me luck, Godspeed. It says, I now understand that I refuse to be put in a box because history has led us here and society tells me to. I realize we can forgive the ignorant and move forward without hate and resentment, but with love and positivity, because that's a natural and beautiful thing. So with that being said, after I just quoted myself like some big fucking loser, let's have a little mental wherewithal to recognize our own values in other people, not be so quick to pledge and haze other sororities, so to speak. Let's go braid each other's hair and talk some common sense. See you next time.